comes from Jonty.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Jonty, you're pushing this uphill here. Father Simon and the collected confessional cardinals. Your school-related story a while back about the stolen clay owl, and particularly subsequent comments from listeners about parents who surreptitiously help with homework. There's a lot of confessions there. Mm-hmm. Takes me back to my own secondary school days in the late 1980s and early 1990s, especially to an incident that occurred in what used to be called, in old money, the lower sixth, now year 27 or something like that. Prompted by your own recent confession, I now need all these years later to fess up to my own misdemeanour. I need to start explaining, Father Simon, I have absolutely no head for maths, science, or anything remotely technical. Not a clue. The arts subjects, English, history of art, they've always been very firmly in my bag. I like performance art, I like mime, I like French Renaissance theatre.
I mean, come on.
I like Jonty.
Jonty and his performance art. Right, go on.
Having said that, I actually quite enjoyed studying and did pretty well in GCSE physics, mainly because we had a really kind, funny and enthusiastic young teacher. We'll call him Mr. Smithers-Jones. And as a result, in a decision I now simply cannot explain, I unfathomably and utterly foolishly signed up for A-level physics. And this is where my tale of woe really starts. For some reason, my sixth form, a gritty northern comprehensive on the outskirts of Doncaster, seemed to have an obsession with using multiple teachers for A-level subjects. I had 3 teachers for one A-level. Well, 2 in reality, as the third, our headmaster, Dr. Sloth, only turned up for about 2 lessons in 2 years. And A-level physics was no exception. Where the aforementioned Mr. Smithers-Jones of GCSE fame taught us the mechanical side of physics, formidable and fearsome Geordie, who was also head of physics, called Geordie McGeordieface, taught us the electrical aspects. Clearly, we just changed some names here.
I worked that out, yeah.
This is Jonty's suggestion of names, by the way, and not mine. After only about 3 weeks of term, if that, it rapidly became apparent that I was completely and utterly out of my depth when it came to A-level physics, and an immediate switch to A-level geography was required.
Okay.
Cue all the geography students and geography teachers saying, "We're not a soft option, you know." A meeting with the affable head of geography, they're always affable, who'd already taught me at GCSE, was arranged, and yes, no problem, you can transfer across, was the word. Likewise, my meeting with kindly Mr. Smithers-Jones. I can see you're really struggling with the mechanical aspects of physics I'm teaching you. That went according to plan. Then, though, have you spoken to the head of physics? Asked Mr. Smithers-Jones, i.e., had I spoken to the formidable and fearsome Geordie McGeordieface? Well, in an absolute, total out-of-depthness, here's my confession, this is what I have to tell you. It was my dad who was, in quotes, helping me, for which read, doing all of my A-level physics homework. Dad couldn't really do mechanical physics either, hence Mr. Smithers-Jones noting how I was struggling. But here's the thing, Dad's degree was in electrical engineering. Hence, for my electrical homework, I was actually doing really rather well.
No.
So, and here, Father Simon, you need to do a Newcastle accent.
Oh, good. Oh, brilliant. Here it comes. Rescue it now. There we go.
Dinna give it up because you think you canna do it, thundered Geordie McGeordieface at my meeting with him. It's one of the accents I decided not to do.
Really?
Okay.
I don't want to offend people.
No. Can't help but feel that the nation wants you to do this accent.
It ain't going to happen. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Well, it's really taking me a hugely disproportionate amount of effort, sir. I fumbled, naturally not wanting to say my real reason for not doing well, but doing okay in electrical physics was that it was being completed by a graduate of electrical engineering, in other words, my father. Well, Father Simon, I eventually convinced him by quoting Jacques Brel, talking about the mime legend Etienne de Croix and explaining my love for German expressionist art. At this point, he sort of went slightly glazed. I switched to geography and I ditched the Wheatstone bridges, whatever they are, for the rest of my life. Well, I looked them up. As you know, Matt, the Wheatstone bridges are electrical circuits used to measure an unknown electrical resistance.
Resistance,
Yes,
yeah, that's right.
as any fool knows.
Yeah.
But do I feel I ought to seek forgiveness both for misleading Geordie McGeordieface and from my dear and sadly recently departed talented dad who, for about 3 anxious weeks of term in 1991, had to frantically dredge his memory banks to do his son's wretched physics homework? Do I think I should? Well, I do think I did. So John T, with his performance art and his love of mime, all of these things absolutely perfectly engineered for Matt's top humour, he will pronounce in just a minute, but it's another getting my dad to do the homework confession. Sister Susie from the pub, what do you say?
See, John T, the problem I have here is you got your dad to help with the homework that he was good at, which is great. That's easy for him. But then you also made him do the physics homework that he wasn't so good at. Now, why couldn't he just do that? That's a poor dad. And for that reason, I'm not going to forgive you, John T.
I know.
Because you shouldn't have got your dad to do both homeworks.
Also insulting to geography students and geography teachers everywhere. Just, I can't do it. I know. I'm going to transfer to geography. They'll let me in. Brother Matthew.
How unlike someone called Jonty to be living off Daddy's accomplishments. I have a question for Jonty. Why weren't you doing an A-level in performance arts? Which basically involves, do you have a black beret? Do you have a black jumper? You're in. There's your A-level. Boom. So I am going to say not forgiven, Jonty.
Really?
I mean, come on. With your Jonty and your daddy doing everything for you and your lack of berets, I'm not going to forgive.
Okay, well, that's absolutely not a surprise. Matt performing true to form, of course. A little bit of class warfare in there. A little bit of performance art always gets him going.